Welcome to Trading Lounge and the Australian Report. In very simple terms, if the 6,000 becomes a retested resistance, then we'll be looking on the bearish side of the market. Okay, so that's really the line in the sand, and of course that 6,000 is just here. It's okay for the price to move down through it a little bit, but if it gets stuck under there, then we'll be looking at a bearish picture, because this top is giving me a little bit of problems here. There's two ways I can look at it. I can look at it at this low here being the wave 4 low here, and then coming all 5 waves up here for having this is the wave 5, orange wave 5 here, and the intermediate wave 3 here top, and all of this is just part of a larger correctional move for wave A here. So that's possible. It's also possible that this can be the top here as well if we take this as wave 4 low here as well. So it's a little bit of a tricky one here. So just to make it very simple, if the 6,000 becomes the retested resistance, then we can start looking on the short side from that point there and calling a top in play. So on the, well, let's have a look on the 4-hour chart, not that it makes any difference. So it's just in a bit of a nutshell once again, it's possible that what I'm thinking is that we can have 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 to come up to this space here for this to complete here as wave 5 of 3 here. But at the same time, it's also possible that that we can look at this as being a top over here as well here. So just need to be a little bit mindful. But it's quite clear though here that the 6,000 is basically where the market is vibrating across. So it has made a new high above here. That can also be part of a larger corrective wave as well here. So yeah, look, until that 6,000 becomes a retested resistance, it can still move down a tad below it, but if it moves down below it, it needs to recover and move back up here again. If it just moves up to the 6,000, then we'll have our short trade positions under that reference low there, and then we'll be on the short side from that point there. But otherwise we need to follow it to the upside, and one of the reasons, or a few of the reasons for that, is that the Nasdaq here in the US here, we've been looking at this as wave 4 here and looking for another move up into the 6,500 area here as the wave 5 here, and we're also still seeing the US markets move up as well. The S&P 500 here. So we've been looking at this as a wave 3 here, an A and a B and a C for wave 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, pulling back to the wave 4 of 1 lesser degree here, and then moving up a bit higher here into the 27 or even the 27.20 area here for its wave 3 here. Okay, so we wouldn't turn bearish if I've made a mistake in here. We could have this top already in play here, but we won't turn bearish here until we see, or if the 2650 area here is the retested resistance. So if you see that as a retested resistance, the same story here, then we'd turn bearish on all the markets at that point there. So coming back to the Aussie markets here and just moving into the hourly chart here, the move up from this low here, I've been looking at counting 5 waves up. Now when we look at the low here, then this is the low here on this market here, this point here, but on the cash market, the physical market, that's the low there. So I've taken it from the cash market low and looking at this as wave 1. But if I was looking at this market here, then I would make this wave 1 here and then wave 2 here. And the difference here is if I make that wave 1 here, then it would make wave 5 top being in place here already over here, because we would have 1 and 2 here, and then I'll look at all of this as the 3rd wave, the 4th wave, and then a fifth wave up to here. But at this stage, looking at the US market needing to move up a little bit further, then I need to look at this moving up further as well here. So I'm thinking that we need to look at this as wave 1 and 2 here, and then moving up for 3, 4 and 5 here. As I mentioned, this 6,000 is extremely important here. So if that becomes a retested resistance, then we need to look to the downside, but we can allow a spike to come into it. This is the 61.8% mark in here from that low to that high here. So we could end up with another count that I won't go into at the moment, but if we get that spike down here and then recover from here, then that's fine too. But if we don't, then that retest, if we get a retest back up and moves through, we have to be short at that point. And with a small position, and then looking to add under the group 2 here, well, certainly with the 59, with the 72 here as a retested resistance. So we need to remain on the bullish side. We look at Thursday in the bullish weekly cycle. We look at Thursday being the bear day, and then Friday and Monday being the bullish day. So we're on track for heading higher in the bullish weekly cycle. On the tick chart here, looking at this here, this is how I've counted it up here. So a wave 4 here, and looking at wave 1 and 2, which we were looking at before, then 1 and 2, which we were looking at before. And I've got 5 waves in here, and then this moves down rather sharply here, and then the move up here. It's possible to even put wave 4 over here. If you've got that over here, then that's fine too. But this move coming down through here, it does count as an A and a B and a C wave here, so a corrective wave. So technically we should be taking that top out here, but we could also see this as a corrective wave here, as an A wave and a B wave and a C wave down to this point here. That's why we need to wait for this to play out. And then move up from that point there. So we can't turn bearish unless we see the Friday afternoon session here in Australia being bearish here. So it's okay to see the morning session bearish, but not the afternoon session for more of a bullish market. If Friday's closing is weak, then Monday will follow through on that as well. If I look at the banks, look at ANZ today. So with ANZ, I was looking at this move down through here as 5 waves, as 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 here, coming off the low. This little move up here, that also appears to be in 5 waves as well. If I go to, so that would create, if you get 5 waves in the opposite direction of the trend, this is the trend coming down here. If you get 5 waves here, then you would look for at minimum 5 waves up, 3 waves back as an ABC, and then another 5 up as minimum there. It could and then it could fade from that point, or it could create another 5, and if we get those 5 waves, well, then we'll get an ABC and then another 5 waves. So it depends, but it does appear that we've got 5 waves here. If I explain that on the tick chart here, then from the low here, we can look at this as being wave 1 and 2 here, and then for the third wave being longest and strongest, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 here for the third wave, an A and a B and a C for wave 4, and then up for wave 5, an A and a B and a C coming back to the 50-60% mark. So we may see a weaker opening here, but I'm thinking that it should recover from having a weaker opening and then start to move up for the day. So just be mindful of that particular point there. Obviously, some of the banks are a little bit different, but we should see. I'm expecting a lift off the current lows here. All right, that pretty much sort of sums it up somewhat. So let's just see how we go with this. So look, even though, just recapping here, even though we may see a weaker opening here, and this may end up being into this space here, then just allow the first sort of 20 minutes to sort of unwind and then pick up the thread from that point. So you know where the bearish situation is, and if you're going long, then you're looking at 6030 here as a tested support here to go long, or taking this high out here. But yeah, look, that's it. Let's just see how the market pans out. Cheers.